Welcome fathers who are looking to inspire their kids and become fearless. This is the Become a Fearless Father show and I'm your host, Klaas van Oosterhout. I'm a father of 2 boys, husband and entrepreneur. This show is created to teach you how to take control and enjoy the most difficult job you've ever faced, fatherhood. I'm going to keep it real and share real life experience. A heads up, there is no magic pill. You will have to put in the hours, sweat and tears to achieve victory. Are you ready to improve your health, wealth, relationships, knowledge and become the hero your family needs you to be? I know you are. So get your pen and paper ready and let's become fearless fathers together.
Welcome everybody. I'm actually feeling really calm and poised right now, even though I know from the inside I've been very nervous and looking up to this interview. I got in contact with Craig Cassidy, I think let's say a month ago. And ever since then, I've seen his post at least 1 or 2 a day. And this man knows how to inspire others. For real, I've been loving what he's doing. He's been inspired the hell out of me to step up my game even more. And that's what it's all about. So, Craig, let's start off with, I'm dying to know more about your background, your origin story, as they explained to us at Funnel Hacking Live and stuff like that. So, tell me, who are you? And yeah, I want to know everything, pretty much.
Man, I'm just a guy. First of all, I'll say thank you. I appreciate the introduction. It's and I'm honoured that there's men overseas and everywhere that are watching my content and getting a lot of value out of it. So it's crazy because it's we just had this conversation earlier. We're on this personal development journey and we're learning what we want to learn so that we can grow and we can serve our clients in front of us. But we often think, is our message that valuable? And, when you hear there's people on the other side of the world listening to your message and it's just crazy. So, yeah, it's, I'm honored and I definitely appreciate you for, reaching out to me. It's really cool. So, and I love what you're doing. So my story, I'm just a man. I'm a man with a background like most men out there, a background that, for most men, though, that background limits them, and it definitely did for me for a long time. So growing up, it was just me and my old man. My mum left before I can remember, so I was from a broken home. My dad was actually 60 years old when I was born, so he was an older dad. So I didn't have the typical family life that a lot of kids had. My dad was often quite sick. He had quite a few heart attacks in the time when I was a young boy and at school. So that obviously impacted me. I love my dad dearly. He was a very hard man, but I loved him dearly. So that impacted me at school. And I didn't have that father figure that, would come and play with me like other kids and, would come to the sports carnivals and things like that. As much as he would have loved to have been there, I just didn't have that. So I always wanted that. Growing up, I went through... a lot of kids go through it, I guess, but I guess I went through it to the degree where I tried to take my own life at a stage, quite a few times actually. A 12-year-old kid, 12-year-old kid going up to his school of a night time in the dark with his little puppy dog and climbing up onto the 3rd story of a roof, a tower above a roof. So climbing up there and wanting to take his life, thinking that this is all there is. This is the hand I've been dealt, and I couldn't see that there was going to be any better than this, and I just didn't know how to deal with it, and I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't want to tell my dad because he was an old man, and I didn't want to worry him, and I didn't have anyone that I could talk to or reach out to, and I just felt stuck. So standing up there on that roof, I can still remember it very vividly, standing up there and looking down at the basketball court below. And wanting to go, crying, being a young boy, just bawling my eyes out, not knowing what to do, not knowing who to speak to. And to be honest, the thing that stopped me was that little puppy dog tied to a pole down below. I seen the puppy dog tied up and I guess I look at that as, yes, it was a little puppy dog, but I look at that as a symbol of, now looking back, it was a symbol that there's something that needs me. There's something out there that needs me more. I'm more valuable in this world alive than I am gone. And that was, I guess that's the message I took from that 12-year-old boy looking down at that puppy dog thinking, who's going to look after my dog if I go? That dog's tied to a pole. What's going to happen to him? I was a very very loving, compassionate young boy, and I'm a loving, compassionate man, hence why I love helping other men. And, that sent me on a whole journey, as you can imagine. So, and it was a journey of a young boy trying to find out what it meant to be a man. Fast forward to, 14 years old, and I was out of home. I was on my own, student homeless rate off the government. They couldn't put me into foster care because I was older than 14. So out on my own, again, searching, lost. No real male role models, no idea of what a man looked like, no idea of what a woman really was either, because I didn't have a mum. And the only role model I had was my old man, who was, he was a great dad, but he just sat at home. He was sick a lot. So I didn't really know what a man looked like. So I went on that search, and I found bull riding. I found the manliest sport I could find. Found men riding bulls, and went to a rodeo and thought, this is it. These guys are it. I'd never been to one, and I took up bull riding. So fast forward 8 months later, and I got on my first bull, and within that first year, I was number 2 for that area where I rode. I moved up to the Northern Territory, which is the top end of Australia, and I got number 2 for that year. And I thought I'd found it. Watching all these manly men, and I thought, this is it. This is what it means to be a man, but something just didn't quite fit. Watching all these manly men, looking at what was going on, and there was one thing missing. There was all these, great men, don't get me wrong, but there was these older guys, and they were still chasing something. They were chasing these rodeos. They were trying to find meaning in life. They had broken homes. They had, kids to different women. They were drinking every weekend. And what I found out was they were searching too. They didn't actually know what it meant to be a man. They were, and they didn't emulate what I wanted in who I wanted to be as a man. There was, one thing that I guess from not having a family, you get what the value of family is. And I really knew that I wanted more than what I was seeing. I wanted to be a good man. I wanted to be a husband. I wanted to be a dad. And that wasn't it. So I moved away from that. Fast forward, football, motocross, all the rough sports you can think of, and got into bodybuilding. So, seeing the big muscles, the typical image of the manly man, the big arms, and thought, this is it. Maybe this is it. These guys live a clean lifestyle. They eat well, they're fit, they're healthy. A lot of them are successful. This is it. And the same thing, got into bodybuilding. 10 years down the track of bodybuilding, I started to realize that a lot of these guys are just other insecure men that are trying to put on a mask, trying to be something that they're not in order to portray manliness, in order to, when really a lot of them are just insecure boys trying to find what it means to be a man. So I realized that wasn't it either. And what I realized was I knew what a man was all along. I always knew it was the thing that I was searching for, that I knew inside. It was the dad that I missed. It was the values that I'd missed. It was somebody being solid in who they are. Here I was searching for what it meant to be a man, when all I really needed to do all along was define what being a man meant to me and step into that, define that for me and live that, and regardless of what anybody else thinks. So for me, defining being a man was to work out that it was just the best version of who I was. Unapologetically, regardless of what society says, regardless of what anyone else says, I'd always been looking outside of myself at all these sports and these images and these masks to find out what it meant to be a man to me, because I hadn't been shown it. But all along, I had it within me. It just meant me stepping into the best me and trusting that I could be the best me with what I knew in that moment, and then I would grow from that in every moment. And then that's what I teach men to do now, is to be better men. And my inspiration come from that little boy wanting to make sure that other boys didn't have to go through what I went through on their own, and they had someone to speak to. And then that evolved into me helping other men, so that young boys do have role models that are solid men, are solid in who they are. They're good dads, they're good partners, they're good businessmen. So that's a little bit of the story.
Nice, man. I love it. And before we continue, because I keep forgetting, make sure everybody that's watching this have pen and paper, right? Because just from this intro story, I already wrote half a page of really interesting things that, it helps me to figure out a red line with the person I'm interviewing, but it also teaches me a lot. One, how the person is, and the other one, what things that I should watch out in my life. So I really appreciate you sharing this. Especially, I am sometimes overwhelmed with how openly some people can communicate about bad things that happen in our life. I mean, you just sharing at such a young age, at 12 years old, standing there, with such intense feelings of wanting to end your own life, and then being so open about it, that just really amazes me, and it's amazing that you do that. Can you explain a little bit, like, because I'm assuming you mentioned in the beginning, like, you had nobody to talk to. What was your trick to develop such an openness now about sharing these kinds of stories with others?
I guess it come from, as men, we're taught that we don't speak about these things. We don't, vulnerability is weakness. So, and I definitely grew up in that way. I definitely grew up thinking, well, I can't tell people about what I've got going on. And I guess the first lesson for me was when I was about 18 years old. I got given the book Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins. And that the main lesson that I got out of that at the time was that my past didn't equal my future. So that's when I made the decision that, we can call it, I teach my clients now to go from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. That just because this was our past doesn't mean this is our future, and we can learn to be whatever we want, but we need to choose what that is. So that was the first lesson that sent me on my journey. And as I started to, I guess I had this passion for helping other people. And what I found was I would try and share stuff out of books that I'd read, courses that I'd do. And sure, it helped. It made a big difference. I had personal training businesses. I owned supplement stores. I had many businesses over the years. But the trend was I was always speaking to people and helping people. And I always had a knack for helping people get out of their own way, or get out of the rut that they were in, or get out of their own head. And when I really found that I started to make a difference was when I started to share my story, the things that I'd actually been through. So I speak about it I coach other coaches also, and I speak about it with them, turning that pain to power. When you're speaking to your clients, when you're sharing your message, you need to bring the pain. Bring that pain that you felt, because people will relate to that. People have been through that. They may not have been where you were. They may not have been to that depth, but they've been through that pain. They've felt stuck. They've felt hopeless. They've felt like they were sinking with no way out, and they can relate to that. And when they can relate to you, they'll take your message on. So to answer your question, it was through sharing and realizing that me sharing wasn't weakness. That was my strength. Through doing what I was taught was weakness as a man and being vulnerable and sharing, I was actually sharing, being vulnerable through strength. And that gave other people strength, and it gave other people the strength to speak about what they had going on, which then helped them get out of their own way, helped them let go of their story and step into that strength. You see, I held on to this story for so many years, and, we hold on to this story tightly, and it's all the reasons why we haven't got what we want. It's all the reasons. This pen, it's a story. I can't do this, and I haven't got this because I've got hold of this story. But once we decide to open our hand and share that story and allow other thoughts in, then all of a sudden we can move forward. And that's, people are stuck in this story, and that's what keeps them where they are. So it was through sharing and seeing the difference that it made to other men, to women. I coach women too, but I predominantly target men, but I do coach women. Sharing that story, I found my strength. So that's, I guess, not that long ago, sharing that story, I'd get quite emotional, whereas people hear it now and they may see me smile and like, man, he obviously didn't, affect him too much. He's smiling about, talking about that. But I smile because that's my strength. That's my superpower, is that story. All the things that people perceive as bad, all the things that I held on to as I had a really bad childhood, they're the greatest lessons of my life. They're the greatest gifts that I could ever give anybody else, is to share that story.
Nice. That was really powerful. Thanks for sharing that. That's the way I see you. You're huge, as in like muscular, but at the same time, I just see that balance that you have between being vulnerable, being emotional, and that makes you like a really, in my opinion, in my eyes, a really strong man. I really like the way you share that. So powerful, and it must make you as a coach just a blessing for the people that get in contact with you. Hey, sorry for the interruption. I know you're really enjoying the show. Just want to make sure if you're liking this information, please subscribe and press the like button. And also go visit becomeafearlessfather.com. You get the opportunity to share your biggest challenge at the moment as a father, and it gives me the opportunity to try and help you overcome this. Thanks, and enjoy the rest of the show. Talking about, because you're a peak performance coach, right? You spoke a lot about purpose, and I'm just wondering, like, how did you come about finding your purpose, and maybe even better, how do you go about teaching others how they can find their purpose? Because that's one of the things that you mentioned throughout your beginning story, is like, you noticed that all these men, they were all searching for, their purpose, their road in life.
I guess, so to find your purpose, you hear people speak about, there's a lot of talk now, you hear people saying there is no real one purpose. Mm-hmm. There's many purposes, and they're right. There is many purposes. So for me, I have a purpose when I get up in the morning. There's a purpose for what I'm going to do. I have a purpose for brushing my teeth. I have a purpose for, the way that I interact with my little boy. I have a purpose for the things that I do with him to help him grow to be a better man. I have a purpose for why I go to the gym and I eat healthy. So we do have there's many purposes to life, but all in all, they all serve a bigger purpose. The purpose is to be the best man. Your purpose is you. You're it. That's it. You are your purpose. You being the absolute best version of you, whatever that means to you. So how do I help them to find their purpose? I help them to find what it means to them to be a man or a woman if I'm working with a woman. What's it mean to you? What's the driving force behind you? What's the calling on your heart? I believe we've all got a calling on our heart. Mine's to share my message. Mine's to inspire others to find the calling on their heart and step into that. So to find your purpose, it's, what are you really passionate about? What do you stand for? What are your values? What's the best version of you that you could possibly imagine? And a lot of men can't tell you that. So to go down that path, it would be, who do you look up to? I've got a client that's, one of he's a coach too. He's a great coach. But one of his main inspirations was Superman. And, when he first told me, I thought, okay, that's curious, tell me more. And it was everything it was the strength that Superman stood for. It was the vulnerability that he had. It was the fact that he didn't need to show his strength. He had to hide under a mask when he had all this power and all this. He could have been the most popular man in the world, but he had to hide it as Clark Kent. So, and there's all these little pillars that he's got lined up with Superman that he picked up that when he was a kid, and that showed him who he wanted to be as a man. So he found a lot of the values and strengths that he looks up to in that character. So I liken it to, I work with men in working out a script for your life. So think about The Rock. When he goes to play a part in a movie, he gets given a script. Now, he doesn't just go and act out that script. He'll go and find, if it's a real life movie, he'll go and find that character and he'll learn about them. He'll spend time with them. Leonardo DiCaprio in Wolf of Wall Street, he went and spent time with the main character and worked out, how does he move? How does he act? What's his mannerisms? How's he carry himself? Is he charismatic? And what's charismatic look like? So find men that you look up to like that and go, what do I like about that person? You don't have to like everything about them. You may have somebody that and this is a great trait in life, you may have somebody that you tend to steer clear of because of one little thing, but what's something you can find about them that you really love? And whatever that is that stands out about them, if that's something you want to adopt, write that out in that script and act into that every day. It's not about changing who you are. It's about bringing out the best parts of you, acting into the best version of you every day. So if The Rock's someone you look up to, why? Is it because he's strong and he's dominant and he's confident? Well, why? What makes him that? And it's got not a lot to do with, yes, he's an intimidating looking man, but it's got nothing to do with the muscles and the tattoos. It's the way he walks. He's got his shoulders back, his head high. He's always smiling. Nothing phases him. He's very confident. He's got good posture. So what do we learn there? We learn that well, as a man, we want to have good posture. We want to stand tall. Well, how do you feel when you stand tall? When you're slumped over and you're feeling shitty and you've had an argument with your missus and you're going into your business, are you going to make the best decisions? No. Are you going to be a good leader for your staff? No. What about if you take on how The Rock acts? Put your shoulders back, stand tall, walk in there with your head high. Just in doing that, you change your state. Tony Robbins talks about changing your state. You do that, you can change your state in a moment, and you show up as the best version of you. So you can make a choice to do that. We set up habits, we set up triggers, we set up things in their life that trigger them and remind them to show up as that. And the more they do it, it becomes a habit and it becomes who they are. And we haven't changed them, we've just made them the best version of who they are. So I hope that makes sense. So finding your purpose is finding the best version of you, living into that. And in living into that, you'll find the things that really mean something to you.
Yeah, loving it. Absolutely fantastic. Thanks, Craig. So a question that popped in my head immediately was, okay, so you're teaching all these men, but you mentioned before also you're trying to teach it to your child. Do you do that exactly the same way, or do you adapt to his age? Because I believe he's 4. Did I catch that?
3.5. Yep.
3.5.
3.5.
Oh.
Yep. Going on 10.
Yeah,
He's very intelligent. He's a very intelligent little boy.
Nice. So how do you go about teaching him? As I mentioned, do you do that the same way, or how does that go about?
I do it the same way in a sense. So I do it by leading. You know, the way we teach our kids is our kids are a mirror of us. You know, the way you speak to their mothers, how they're going to speak to women, that's the model they're going to get of the world. That's how a woman's spoken to. That's, you know, the way that you act around your friends, the things that you do, the way that you react to him. You know, if you're short and you've got a short temper, or, you know, you'll get men a lot of times, they'll overreact, or they'll, you know, and we're all human. We do it. I've done it. We'll be in a bad mood. We'll have a lot going on with work, and we'll come home and we'll react to our kids. And then we wonder why they act out at school, or why they lash out at their friends when they're frustrated, or their teachers. It's because we taught them that. So how do I teach my little boy? Is by allowing him to see how a man acts, how a man walks, how a man speaks. And you know what? I'm not perfect. You know, as coaches, you know, we have the answers, but it doesn't mean that we're perfect. You know, I still have down days. I still go through bad times and things like that. But I think personal development allows you to be a lot more aware, so that when you have those bad times, you can notice it and you can shift that. So letting my boy see that life's not always perfect. You don't always have to be perfect. But when you realise that you're not, you own that and you change that. You know, when you need to apologise, you apologise. When a man can do that, a man can be sorry, a man can be wrong. You know, men say they have to have all the answers all the time. I don't have to have all the answers for my little boy. If I don't know something, I'll let him know that I don't know it, but I'm going to do my best to find out how, because as a man, you don't need to have all the answers. I think the strength is in admitting that we don't, being strong enough to say, I don't have the answers, but I'm going to work them out. And doing that for my little boy, just being the best man that I can be, that's how I teach my little boy.
All right, give me 1 second, Greg. I'm sorry. That's the possibility of being live.
Richard, I've got 2 out the back as well.
Yeah, nice. Go on. Gosh. Come on. Say hi to Greg. Say hello.
Hey, boy or girl?
Boys, both of them.
Boys.
This one's rescued.
Ah, nice.
He was very badly treated. He got shot by, here in Spain, they have a lot of those plastic pistols.
Yeah, wow.
He got shot in the hip. He still got that plastic bullet in his hip.
Yeah.
And he's very good with us, very good with the kids, very aggressive depending on the dog, and men he doesn't like so much.
And dogs are judges of character. I imagine whoever mistreated him was probably a man. So
that and with a stick, because if there's
again,
a man,
there you go. There's kids. You know, show them. They learn by what they see around them. So same thing.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, apologies for everybody for the interruption. I keep saying yesterday we got interrupted twice. One time, the one I was interviewing by his daughter, and the other time by my kids. That's what dadpreneurs are. That's the life is all about, no? So thanks for sharing that. So just a little bit question I was wondering as well, because you, or at least what I saw, you are a single dad. That must be tough. And I'm just wondering, how do you set everything up so it still works good for you and for everybody else?
Man, it is tough, and it's an ever-changing dynamic because life changes. You got co-parenting, you've got two people that are living different lives now and making different decisions, and things change. So you're not doing everything together anymore. So every time one changes something, whether it be their work schedule or their hobbies, or they have something come up, then there's a conversation that needs to take place. So I guess the biggest lesson I've learned there is communication is so important there. Regardless of what you think of your ex-partner, regardless of what you think of you. If it's your kid's mum, you should love that person for being your kid's mum, or dad. Regardless of your differences, you need to put that aside for your child. So I guess the biggest bit of advice I have there is let go of the past. Let go of what you cannot control and control what you can control, which is moving forward. Communicate, make choices out of the best interest of your child, and be flexible. You need to be flexible with each other. A lot of co-parents, depending on how the relationship ended, will hold on to resentment, and then they'll use that in spite. That they won't allow flexibility for, if one of the other parents have something come up. So being flexible, being able to adapt is probably the biggest thing. As a single father, in the sense of when I have my boy for 50% of the time, so we were 50-50, so I'm lucky in that regard. I'm lucky that I'm in a position that I'm able to have him for that time, especially at the age that he's at, because I have him 24/7. He's not in daycare or anything like that. And a lot of dads can't do that. They've got to go to work. So I'm lucky that I can do that, and I can be present when I have him. But I still am growing a business at that time. I still have clients that I need to be there for at times. They're all well aware of where I'm at in my position, but, I also let them know that, hey, if you need me, I'm here 24/7. So it's just a matter of making use of your time, having a really, that's when a schedule really comes important, and daily habits come important. I think that's important for your kids too, because they start to learn routine. So I still train when I've got my boy. I go to the gym, and that puts him in the creche, and that gives me some me time. That's when I do my personal development. I listen to my audios while I train. If I have to reach out to clients and things like that, then I will also do that while I try. I'll take 10 minutes before I train. I'll put him in the creche, and I'll reach out and leave them messages if I need to. I get him down to bed at night, and then when I get up, it's not sit in front of the TV. It's not have some relaxing time because, I've been flat out with my boy all day. I'm on the computer creating content or replying back to clients or putting stuff together for clients. It's getting up at 4:30 a.m., a couple of hours before he wakes up, and getting done what needs to be done. So, it's balance. It's balancing everything out. A lot of people say that you can't have balance. I think you definitely can, but balance doesn't mean, that you have an equal amount of time in every area of your life. Balance means that you balance out your priorities. You give the time where it's needed. So, and integration. Tony Robbins speaks about that, work-life integration, and integrating even Facebook Lives. You'll occasionally see Tatham on my lives because I have a goal to put out a live each day because people get value. I get messages every day that I'm helping people and helping change their life. So I want to continue that. And if I've got my boy, I do my best not to be on a handheld device when I'm around him. So if I'm going to be, I will include him in that. I'll let him be in it. I'll tell him what's going on. I'll I'll notice how he's feeling. I'll notice if he looks uncomfortable or if he's not liking it. And if he isn't, then I'll get off, or I won't do it. So it's being aware parenting. So, yeah, it's that integration and that communication, I guess, are the two biggest things, and having a solid routine down on paper as opposed to just sort of having it in your head and knowing how things go and being adaptable and I guess, flexible with you in the co-parenting dynamic.
Exactly. Wow, great. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, you hear it more and more, the single father and the fact that you can do it 50-50. I mean, in the beginning, you heard a lot, of course, that, hey, you get divorced and everybody's scared of that and then you don't see your kid anymore. So at least it's good for us fathers to hear that that's changing and we're getting more equality on that aspect as well, right?
Yeah, man, it has to change because, I won't go down the whole rabbit hole of the way relationships are these days, but man, relationships just, I believe it's social media and dating apps and, the grass is greener and all these, quick fix and easy options. Relationships just aren't what they used to be. They don't last. Couples just quit. They're not willing to put in the work. So it's not what it used to be. So we either get better at that, which I don't see happening, to be honest, or we start to learn to what it means to be a single parent, because there's going to be a lot of them. So, I think it's a necessity that people get good at that and information gets put out there so people can learn to, have that good co-parenting dynamic, because kids need it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, I love your openness in sharing. It's refreshing and it's so important for other fathers, single fathers, or in my case, married fathers, that, we hear this in such a refreshing way. I love it. Thanks, Greg. I appreciate it. So,
thanks, bro.
You were talking about being present, and that's one of the things that I definitely wanted to talk about, because one of the things that I'm struggling a little bit with is, it's so easy to say, yeah, I'm going to spend time with my kids. And then I see it so much in the park, for example, in the playground, the kids are playing and the parents are all sitting there with their phone. And that's like, yeah, it's good you're with your kids, but you're not being like present. And I love the fact that you mentioned that.
Yeah.
So can you explain a little bit, like, what does it do for you? What does it do for your son? And why is it so important? And how can people really practice being more present?
I think it's important if you really take notice and you're really aware of your kids, they will teach you every lesson that you need to learn. So Tatham has really taught me how to be patient, how to be present, how to communicate, because I will notice his mannerisms and his behavior change drastically depending on how I'm showing up. So I guess that's how you find out it's important. And if you don't know that, if you can't notice the mannerisms, or if you're making excuses that, that's just a stage they go through, then that's the first sign that you aren't being present enough. Because if you were, you would notice it and you would know. I think it's setting boundaries for yourself and knowing what's important. So for me, my son is my purpose. And what I mean by that is me being the best man I can be, me helping other men be good men. They're going to then parent other kids. They're going to influence other kids, and that's going to be future generations. And my son's growing up into that world. So if I can make a difference there, that makes a difference for him. So that comes down to that handheld device as well. I'm guilty. I'm definitely guilty of using I'm aware of it, and I am a lot better than a lot of men. But when you've got your child 50-50 and 24/7 for your half of the time you've got them, there's things that you've got to do. You've got important messages to get back to and things like that. And I think it comes back to that balance. If you're at the park with your kids, and sure, if you're there with some friends and they've got kids too and your kids are playing and they're keeping each other occupied and you've got a bit you've got to do, take advantage of 5 minutes to quickly send a few messages for work or business or whatever. But if it's just you and your boy, or you and your girl, or you and your kids, then be there with your kids. Turn it off, leave it in the car and be present. It's an hour, half an hour, 20 minutes, whatever it is. Be fully present with your child, and you notice such a difference. So for me, Tuesdays is changeover day. And, it's been a little while now. I've been a single parent for a while, but it doesn't get any easier. I'm sure it will, but it's still tough. Changeover day is tough. So on a Tuesday morning, I drop Tatham off to his mum at 1 o'clock, and we're good. We've got a good relationship now. We get along well. We'll have a coffee together and things like that. We discuss what's best for him, but it's hard. So on that day, I make sure that morning, that phone is as far away as possible. Now, I do that a lot of the time. I'll have set times where I get rid of that phone and those devices, but that day in particular, I make sure that we communicate. We chat. I'm 100% present with him. I'm not checking my phone every second. I don't even have it on, because if it's on or near me, then I think to check it. And they notice. They notice the minute you pick up that device, you'll see their little head drop, or you'll see them, or they'll start to misbehave. And that's not a good sign, because that, for them to do that means that you've done it enough for them to know that that device means they're losing your attention. So for the parents out there, my advice to you is, next time you pick up that device around your kids, have a look at your kids. That doesn't mean they're always going to react, because maybe they've got so far along they're desensitized to it, and that's even worse.
Mm-hmm.
And then they stick their kids in front of the same devices. My little boy, he doesn't have an iPad. He doesn't have any of that. He'll occasionally hold my phone and watch a video on it if we're on a long road trip, but that's it. Technology, he needs to learn it, and he'll learn that at school, and he'll learn that occasionally, but he also needs to learn to be creative and play, and dad needs to show him that as well. So, we hunt dinosaurs at the park. We have fun, use it as a time to be a kid again, like parents don't play. For me, you've got all this stress in your life and business, and the kids at home, you got to make their lunches. Use the time at the park to be a downtime for you too. Have fun with your kids, be a kid, have an imagination, forget about the phone, forget about what your friends have got going on or what's happening at work, and actually just be there with your kid. Crawl in the dirt, go down the slippery dip. Your kid will thank you for it in the future. That's all your kid wants, is your time. They don't care about the car that you rocked up at the park in. They don't give a shit about that. They don't care about the house that you're going home to. They don't give a shit about the nice toys that you bought them. Sure, they love them and they're fun. What they really care about is dad going down the slippery dip. Dad crawling around under the play equipment with them in the dirt. Dad going, whoa, look at the dinosaurs, like dad being there and mum being there. That's what your kids really care about. And I promise you, if you practice that, you will start to have so much fun and connection with your kids that you won't want to take that handheld device with you to the park. So that's my advice for what it's worth.
Yep, I love it. Absolutely. Actually, I started smiling because yesterday we have these, like they're round tubes of, kind of rubber. They're soft, and they use them for swimming. Older people, when they can't swim, they just float in them, and I cut them in half and we use them as swords. So yesterday I had to bring in my mother-in-law first to the house, and then I thought, I'm going to take them to the park. So I had those 4 things, and we just start playing around, and just all the parents are looking like, what are they doing? But the kids just all smile, and everybody wants to have a go, and everybody wants to beat up and their friend's dad because it's fun. And for me as well, it's like, no, leave him alone. The man is tired now. I'm like, who's tired? No, this brings up my energy. It's so much fun. So I'm really happy you shared this. And it's one of my messages every time. It's like, go nuts. I mean, it's the best feeling you can do, and just forget about everybody else. I mean, they're just going to do. So thanks, man. I really appreciate that. So I gotta see. Yeah, this is also what I want to talk about. This the earliest video the last video that you posted that I watched this morning. It was all about morning routine, and I love it. I'm all about morning routine. Everybody that's following Become a Fearless Father knows. I teach a morning system. I call it system, and the reason why I call them system is exactly for the message that was posted by a lady saying, "Yeah, I can't do this because I got 5 kids." So there's going to be 2 questions, but let's start with the first one. Let's explain a little bit the importance for you, the benefits in regards to a morning routine.
Benefits are huge. Your morning routine starts your whole day. I always speak with my clients about, and you hear the quote all the time, life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. But it will happen to you if you allow it to. It'll happen to you if you don't live your life with intention. And that starts by starting your day with intention. So if you start your day with intentionality, you get very clear on how you want your day to flow, then you've got much more chance of succeeding. we plan our business. We plan our, I hope people plan their businesses. They plan their forecasts for their quarter and all these sorts of things. But they don't plan their life. They don't plan how they want to show up. They don't plan their emotions. They don't plan how they're going to talk to their partner in the morning. They don't plan, how they're going to show up for their kids. They don't plan. A lot of people do, but a lot of people don't. How they want to feel. So if I want to feel that way, how do I need to eat? What are the routines I need to adopt? So the way you start your day is everything. For me, it's gratitude every morning. And I think that's a bit of a buzz thing these days. Everybody speaks about it, but it's because it works. Start your day with gratitude, whatever that means to you. Oprah Winfrey's 3 things she's grateful for before her feet hit the floor. Everybody's got their own little thing. I write mine down sometimes I don't, but I always think of 3 things I'm grateful for every morning. It's the first thing I do. And then it's fluids. It's rehydrating. You've just been asleep. You've basically fasted for the last 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. It's getting those fluids in and rehydrating, which gets your brain going. It helps, gets the stomach going. It gets everything ready. It's, and then it's meditation, which, whatever that means for you. Meditation's such a broad, people think meditation's sitting there with your legs crossed. And it can be, for me, it's laying down on the lounge room floor with my legs out, my arms out, and I'll listen to a guided meditation or music. And sometimes I'll actually think and I'll envision the day. Other times I'll meditate and I'll clear my mind and, focus on my breathing. But having that solid morning routine allows you to control the first part of your day. If you can start the first part of your day by controlling your state, how you feel, which by feeling gratitude, you'll get more gratitude. You feel good instead of thinking about all the bad shit that you've got to do for the day. Then you're controlling what you put in your mouth. You're starting with water, a healthy breakfast. You're able to clear your mind through meditation. You're controlling your morning. People speak about the most important thing you can do is make your bed. And I agree with that because you're starting your day with a win, with order, and what do you come home to? A made bed. So you get to go to have a win when you go to bed and feel good getting into that bed. So it's got nothing to do with making your bed and everything to do with controlling the first thing you do when you get up. And then you can choose how you want your day to unfold with intentionality. Sure, things aren't always going to happen perfectly, but if you can start your day and have the majority of your day, the start of your day how you want it to be, you've got much more chance of controlling the rest of your day. And if something comes up and you're in a good state, instead of reacting, you're going to respond and you're going to deal with things a lot better. Deal with things in the office, deal with things with your partner, with your kids, as opposed to getting up, jumping straight out of bed, hitting snooze 10 times. Then the kids have spilt something in the kitchen and you're reacting and you're yelling at your kids and you're angry at your partner because she didn't, it's craziness to me, now that I actually have a morning routine. So yeah, it's a morning routine's everything, productivity, everything. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I knew you were the right person to ask this. So great. I really appreciate it. Yeah, as you mentioned, gratitude. I get up and the first thing I just, at first it was like I really have to remind myself, but now it just comes innate. I heard somebody say in one of the motivational videos, like the first thing you should do is just smile and feel grateful that you have another day. So I just look in the mirror and just smile at myself. And my smile just gets bigger and bigger because you start to smile, especially in the beginning, a little forced, and then after a while it's like, and my kids notice because now it's like they wake up and I already have that big smile on my face because I was up like, let's say an hour, 2 hours before they get up, right? So I really appreciate you sharing that. I think it's very important. Now let's get to that message of that lady that has 5 kids, which you and I both, we can relate. It's hard having kids. I mean, yeah. I wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning and all that kind of stuff. That's great. But with little kids, especially mine, for example, they used to sleep in our beds at first. So now in the middle of the night, they still come to our beds. If we're not there, then they might wake up. And of course, they need the rest as well, right? Yeah. So you work around those things. But one quote that came in my head is, you think you can or you think you can't, you are right. So my question to you is, how do you go about with such a reaction from somebody saying, yeah, immediately, I can't do this?
In that context, so for me, it's just a belief. It's a belief that's been adopted and then it's fed because, that mother, potentially has spoke to a bunch of other, it's not her fault. Mm-mm. It's not her fault at all. That being said, we need to take ownership for where we are. and for everything we've got going on. And we're 100% the reason why we are where we are. But she potentially has been told by other mothers, oh, it's okay. You know, you've got 5 kids. Geez, you know, don't you stress. Like, you know, you're doing well just to be where you are. So eventually we get told that long enough that we just adopt that belief, and then that's just the way it is. And if we believe it, we're holding it so tightly that we're not open to any other thoughts. Sometimes you've just got to loosen the grip and be open to other thoughts. It's not to say that this is wrong. It's just to say that be open to other thoughts. So in her case, and I think that the answer's in the word. People hear morning routine. Oh, I can't have a morning routine. I've got 5 kids. You've got a morning routine whether you like it or not. Everyone's got a morning routine, even if it's anarchy and there's no plan to it. It's still your routine is anarchy. That's your routine. You routinely just let shit hit the fan every morning. You routinely just, you know, that's your routine. You've got a routine. So you have control over that routine. So for me, it's get up half an hour earlier than your kids and do something that you can control, just something. Control one little thing so that when those kids get up, you feel like you've had some time to you or a win for the day. I know when I've got Tathan, my little boy. So the routine that I partially described, there's quite a bit more to it, but that's when I don't have him. It's occasionally when I have him, if I can sneak out of bed, because he still sleeps with me. So, but if I've got him and he's got his little hand over me or something like that, if I move, he's waking up and he's getting up with me. So oftentimes it's out onto the couch and he'll fall back asleep on my chest. So I'll put my earphones in and I'll listen to an audiobook and I'll feed my mind. It's still time for me that I can control in the morning. I can still do gratitude. That's in your head. You got 5 kids. I don't care how many. If you got 10 kids, you're still in control of your own thoughts. Think about 3 things you're grateful for. You know, the healthy breakfast, a morning routine, have a healthy breakfast. Your kids deserve that too. You know, do something cool with your kids. Get outside, take them in the backyard and get out in some fresh air, which will wake them up. And, you know, do that in the morning. Have some movement. Make it fun. You can control your life. You're always in control of your life and there's always a way. But the minute that you say, I can't, well, you're right. You're 100% right. Because whatever you say is the truth. And you're in control of that. So you've just got to stop looking at problems and focus on solutions. Instead of going, oh, this is my problem, I'm a victim, go, well, what's the solution? What could I do if I really wanted to? What could I potentially do to change this? So like I said, for me, if I'm in bed with Tathan and I know he's going to wake up, I'll meditate laying in bed. Laying down anywhere on the carpet, it's no different. It's just I've got him next to me. I'll say gratitude in my head. I won't say it out loud. Maybe I can't write it down. I'll put an audio book in and I'll lay there and I'll get my notebook and I'll journal. I can still do the same things. I've just got to adapt. So yeah, when someone tells me they can't do something, then I ask them why. I'll say, why can't you? What's the proof around that? And is that real? Is that the truth? And then we'll dive into that and say, what's the solution? And 100% of the time I've not been proven wrong. That person has their own solution. Mm-hmm. If you ask them the right questions. As a coach, as you know, we're not here to give you the answers. We're here to bring the answers out you already have. I'm not here to tell you what to believe. I'm here to help you work out what it is that you believe and be solid in that. So that woman's got the answers. And she did. I replied and she come up with an answer straight away. Oh, yeah, I do this, this, and this. And I walk 3Ks to school and da-da-da-da-da. She had a routine and it was quite a healthy routine. Awesome. She just looked at a blueprint that I'd put there people get this blueprint in their head of how things should be. And they think that that's the only way. So then they feel bad because someone else's shoulds become theirs. Come up with your own shoulds. Come up with your own routine that works for you. That's my advice. That's how I deal with can'ts.
Amazing. But that's the danger, so to say, for being a coach or a guru, because you're sharing a certain message. Like, for example, I keep mentioning Dr. Eric Thomas, for example, because I follow him. I love his energy. And he mentions, like, I'll wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning. And, of course, that's great. That's for him. But so many people now, you have to cry and you have to wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning. And then they feel miserable throughout the whole day just because it's not them, right? So and you mentioned she already has a routine that's really healthy. We just focused on what somebody else does. Coming to a question. What makes then, you mentioned it a little bit, but maybe in a little bit more detail, what makes a good coach? And at the same time, what makes like another person figure out what is a good coach for them?
I think what makes a good coach is a good listener. Somebody that, and that's quite cliche because most coaches will say that, but somebody that's able to really listen and hear their client and work out what's best for them without imposing their own beliefs on that client. See, what a lot of coaches do will come on board with to explain that a bit better, is a coach that is able to be intuitive. I think a strong intuition makes a great coach. Someone that can intuitively coach and come up with the answers or the solutions based on an individual client. What I really dislike are these coaches that they follow one process, one cookie cutter approach for every client, but every client's different. Every person that sits in front of me is an individual. One of the things I say to my clients is, you may not always get what you want, but you'll always get what you need. What I mean by that is if we've planned to do some goal setting in this session, and in the first 5 minutes we sit down, I really listen to my clients. What have you had going on for the week? And they've had a breakdown in their relationship, or they've got some real challenges at work. We're not focusing on your goal setting right now. We're going to focus on that, because those goals aren't going to mean shit if we don't get this sorted. So, and it's the ability to adapt and change to that. Some coaches go and do one life coaching course and that's all they've ever done, and they stick to that framework and that's all they know. But if what that framework entails isn't what that client needs at that point in time, they get stuck, or they push that onto the client. And then if the client doesn't get results, this is the other thing, is clients. I think what makes a good coach is a coach that takes ownership for themselves. We teach our clients to take ownership. We need to take ownership also. So a lot of coaches will say, it's the client's fault if they don't get results because they don't take action on what I tell them to do. But the client come to you because they couldn't get results through not taking action on what they need to do. That's why they're there. You're there to help them get past that, get past their limiting beliefs, get past their roadblocks, help them overcome all that. So when they don't do what you tell them to do, it's not your job just to say, sometimes it is. Sometimes you just need to be firm and say, get out of your own way and do the fucking work. But sometimes there's a genuine fear or reason why they're stuck, and it's a pattern, and we need to overcome that. And I think what makes a great coach is being able to overcome those blocks, being able to see those patterns, to really listen for what's going on underneath, as opposed to just the surface level, hey, here's a plan, just follow that and do the work and trust the process. That it's not enough. Because if that's all you're doing as a coach, then your client's very soon going to realize they can go and do a free webinar or do a Google search and find some free info that's going to give them just as much value online. A real coach will help people overcome their problems and hold them accountable. Also is a big thing, which again, just about most coaches can do, but it's being able to hold somebody accountable and push the right buttons. Not overwhelm them or push them, or, and coaches that are coaching for the right reasons, not just for a dollar figure. If I don't feel a client's right for me, I won't work with that client. I'll refer them to somebody that's right for them. For whatever reason, I don't feel that we're a good fit, I won't take them on board just because it's a paycheck. Whereas a lot of coaches do. I've had it done to me, my multiple coaches, where I've realized pretty quickly that they're not the coach for me. Not only have I realized they're not the coach for me, but I've realized that they had to have known that at the beginning, because I was very clear on what I wanted and needed. And then when I made it clear that I needed that down the track, they tried to palm that off as not their fault, or they don't really have that answer, or, so they were just after a paycheck. So that's a long way around answering your question. But when it comes to clients, working out the best coach for them, whoever you resonate with. So consume their content, listen to the way they speak, listen to the message that they speak. A lot of people will say, only go to somebody who's had the success that you want. Only go to somebody you want to make $1 million doing X business, go to somebody who's had that. Sure, if you want a coach that specifically is going to coach you within that business, that may be true. But if you want a coach for your life, their success may be very, very different to yours. So if I wanted someone to coach me, they don't have to be successful in the aspect that I want to be successful in. They just have to be successful in what they want to do, because I know if they've made their path to success, they can probably get me there too. So I could coach a multi-millionaire. Am I a multi-millionaire? No. But I can coach them because they might have problems in their relationship that they don't have the answers to, problems with their kids that they don't have the answers to. Can I show them how to make another $1 million? Probably, yeah, because if I take away all those problems, I guarantee you their business is going to scale, because most of the problems in their business has very little to do with their business and more to do with the mess that they've got in their life, their mindset, the noise. So I think when you're looking for a coach, it's finding somebody that really resonates with you, that you really like their message, because it makes a big difference. Nothing worse than having a coach and having them talk and you don't even like the way they speak, because you're not going to listen. It's going to annoy you. It's just, yeah, that would be my biggest thing. Someone you resonate with and that believes that they can solve your problem. And when they tell you they can, you believe they can. Listen to your intuition. Be careful of the sales process. There's some coaches out there that are very successful because they're great salesmen, but they're not great coaches. I'm not the best at sales. I'll be the first to admit it, but I'm a great coach. There's not a client that I've got there's not a person in this world that could come to me that I don't believe I could help or, overcome the challenge that they've got. But do I believe I can sell everybody? No. Because I'm not great at sales. It's something I'm working on, but I don't see it as sales. I see it as helping people to get out of their own way to better their life. Whereas other people will push someone into a sale, and sometimes that's what people need. So it's being aware of that too when you're being sold to, and when that person's actually coming from here and they actually care.
Exactly. Wow, great. I'm glad I asked you this question. I got 2 more questions before we end with my last question, which is always how can people get in contact with you. My last 2 questions are going to be about what's behind you. Lots of books. Love that always. So if you had to share right now, like 3 books that have made the biggest impact on you, which 3 would that be?
Awaken the Giant Within by Anthony Robbins. Definitely. The other one would be The Way of the Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman. Great book for anybody, no matter how far along your journey you are. It will take you on a journey that relates specifically to you, and you will know what I mean when you read it. And number 3 is a tough one. Number 3 would be hard. I would say potentially The One Thing. I found that really, it's possibly not the third best book I've read, but it probably impacted me the most because at the time I read it, it's what I needed. Same with The Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins. There's books that have come since that from him that are probably I've got a lot out of, but at the point that I read that, it changed my whole life. So if we're talking impact, it would be those 3. Definitely.
Nice. I appreciate it. Yeah, I got both. The One Thing I still have to read, and the other one, Awaken the Giant Within, I go in phases because it's a very impactful book, and there's so much in there that, it's a lifetime book, in my opinion. So great.
I mean, you can do the cliche, Napoleon Hill's book, and you can do, there's a ton of books that I've got a ton of value out of, but if I was going to say the ones that impacted me the most, it's the same for most people. I've been given books and I've gone, I didn't get anything out of that, or I got 2 chapters in, I went, that's not for me. Mm-hmm. Whereas the person that gave it to me said it was the best book they've ever read, and it was somebody I respected, but I've picked that same book up 12 months later and been like, wow, that's the best book I've ever read because I was ready for it and I needed it at that point in time. So I think when recommending books to clients, it's important to look at where they're at in their life. Because I may say, hey, this is one of the best books I've read. They go, oh, I'm going to read that. And I'll go, no. That's not for you right now. Even, people read books for the sake of reading books. They'll read a book around, health and nutrition, but they're quite healthy as it is. and their finances are up to shit. Get a book on finance. That's what you need right now. You don't need any more about health and nutrition at this point. You know, that they'll read about, you know, about finance, but their relationships in the gutter. Read about relationship, you know, or you're just having a kid, read about what it is to be a father, about what that means. So I think it's important to look at the, you know, I won't go into this, but we've got seasons of our life. And it's important to look at the season that you're in and pick literature and content based on that.
Absolutely. Yep, like that. So the last question, man, I got to ask as a Muay Thai fan, I see the boxing gloves. What's that all about?
John Wayne Parr, he's a good mate of mine. He actually used to be my coach. So John Wayne Parr is, man, if you're a Muay Thai fan, 10 times world champion, in my eyes, the greatest Muay Thai fighter ever. So he's here on the Gold Coast. He's got Boon Chu Gym here. So I trained under Wayne, had a couple of fights under Wayne, Muay Thai fights, which was pretty cool. Had him as a one-on-one coach. Great guy. That was actually done for a friend of mine. I organised it. His sister had cancer and they were looking to raise money. So I went and seen Wayne, and Wayne said, sure, you know, nothing's a problem for him. He helped out. So he gave me the gloves and signed them. I got the frame done, and my friend's sister went into remission. He said, man, have this back. So it's sitting here now. So it may very well be given away to somebody or used for a charity down the track. As much as I'd love to keep it up there myself, it's you know, I think it'll impact somebody else through raising money for something worthwhile. So yeah, that's that one.
Absolutely. Oh my, amazing. I love that. I saw it. I was like, hey, that picture looks familiar. I actually have him on one of my pictures on my vision board, as in unity of Muay Thai, because he represents, and he's a big name in the Muay Thai world. All right, Greg. So I appreciate you being online, sharing as open and as fresh as you have. So thank you for that. I can imagine, just like me, there are tons of fathers out there that are listening, and they still just got more questions than the answer that you've given. How can we stay in contact with you? How can they follow you, etc.?
Man, on Facebook. Obviously, this is on Facebook now. So Craig Cassidy. Also, I have a like page, a business page. I honestly don't do a lot on there. I will start to. So follow me at Craig Cassidy. Add me. I haven't maxed out on my friends yet, so there's still room. I also have Men with Purpose, which is a private group. So look that one up, jump in there. I share some content in there. You know, it's a great community. It's growing. On Instagram, at Craig Cassidy, with an underscore at the end. And that's it. There's Instagram, and I'm on Twitter as well, but I don't use that one a lot. So Facebook and Instagram's it at this stage.
Awesome.
Yeah. www.craigcassidy.co if you want to reach out through that way as well.
Perfect. I will make sure that I put all the links for the people that are watching this afterwards. You can find the links right underneath this video. Make sure you reach out and follow this guy. I mean, I'm telling you, the messages every day is inspiring. At least it's inspiring me to continue to grow, and I hope that is doing the same. I hope this helped for everybody. Thank you for taking the time. Greg, thank you everybody else for taking the time to watch this. I hope it's been helpful. It sure has been amazing for me. And I wish everybody a fantastic and inspiring day, and we'll see each other very soon. Take care.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
Are you still meeting up with your friends now that you're a father? Kids making you stress out. You got no time for yourself to work out, read, or relax. Can you still remember the time you were hanging out with your friends, feeling energetic, happy, and confident? Spending time together and talking about your life and your crazy dreams. You're feeling alone now, don't you? No one to share your challenges with, and you're just running around from one storm into the next. Well, it's time to change this now. Join me and the Brotherhood of Fearless Fathers to speak on a weekly basis with like-minded dads to crush your challenges, face your fears with determination, be held accountable, and regain control of your life. If you want to become the hero your family needs you to be, then go to becomeafearlessfather.com/brotherhood. I'm looking forward to seeing you on one of our next calls.